All right, boys. We are back again for the best damn sports baseball show here on the channel. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Make sure you hit that like button below the video. Helps us out a little bit here. That's all we're asking of you. Appreciate everybody joining tonight. I just welcome Peter and Ty. How are you guys doing tonight? What's on your mind to start us off here?
Man, the Rockies just got their first sweep in like a year. That's big news.
Yeah, it is. It is. Like they've got more wins right now in the month of June than Scotty Scheffler does.
About time.
Right. Peter, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. The Mets had a bit of a tough loss today, but they still overall won the series against the Dodgers, and that's a pretty good benchmark that you want to be at. So yeah, doing all right.
Yeah. I have to kind of. I tried to put on a good face to start the show, but I have to admit I'm pretty pissed off tonight. And so I'm gonna give it a go here. But my God, Alex Anthopoulos, you got to do something. You guys are killing me. The Atlanta Braves now dropped I believe it's their fourth game in a row. Looking at 2-8 in their last 10. Guys, the Atlanta Braves right now are 11 games back in the National League East. They are 7 games back of the wild card, which means right now this 27-34 record has them closer to the Pittsburgh Pirates in the wild card standings than it does actually making the wild card. I mean, can we get some players in here? I mean, right now we are looking at left field being played by Alex Verdugo. Alex Verdugo. Come on. I mean, this guy, first of all, he's been terrible his whole career. Let's not even try to like fool anybody. I mean, right now, Alex Verdugo right now has a 79 WRC plus, a 79. And that'd be all fine and dandy if he was actually playing good defense, but he's playing terrible defense. I mean, how can you explain it? His defensive value right now on Fangraphs is -3. This is a negative WAR player on the season. His OPS right now is sitting at 629. And let's just look at the past history here. Was this a good guy to bring in? You've got in the last 3 years a guy who had an 83 WRC plus last year, a 98 the year before that, and then he was actually above average in 2022 with a 102. So, I mean, he's obviously been declining and getting worse, but you're going to bring him in to be a mainstay in your lineup, holding down a corner outfield position at that. I mean, you can do with a player in center field that maybe doesn't bring you a good enough bat, but brings a good glove. Of course, Verdugo's doing neither, not playing good defense, not hitting. And then at shortstop, you come into the season with Orlando Arcia starting, who was awful last year. And now you've gotten rid of him. He's off in Colorado now playing with the Rockies. But you've got Nick Allen starting, playing every day at shortstop. If your lineup was producing solidly, you could handle with one guy because Nick Allen can pick it at short, and that's totally great. I'm glad that we actually have a shortstop that can play defense, which Orlando Arcia could not. I mean, he was awful with the bat and in the field. So at least Nick Allen's holding one side down, playing good defense. But this is a guy with a 565 OPS. I mean, that's awful. Peter, you could probably do that. I mean, he's got a 63 WRC plus this year. I mean, this is 2 starting players with a 63 and a 79 WRC plus. Not to mention in center field, you've got Michael Harris with a 583 OPS, swinging at everything. Dude never has taken a walk. He's walking like 4% of at-bats this year. I mean, this guy is awful. You've got back to Nick Allen. Maybe they're just hoping that Nacho Alvarez. That's what somebody in the Discord said to me today. They're like, oh, well, they're probably just waiting for Nacho Alvarez, a guy with 8 games of experience at the major league level. 8 games. I mean, 32 plate appearances. You're going to rely on this guy? You're supposed to be a contending team? I mean, we are wasting prime time in the careers of Ronald Acuna and Matt Olson, Austin Riley. I mean, we're just wasting this window of opportunity. We went a decade where we were off on the 2010s. But you know what? These guys are not getting younger. Contracts are getting closer to the end. Are the Atlanta Braves going to extend Ronald Acuna when it becomes time? I don't know. We didn't bring back Max Fried. We didn't bring back Freddie Freeman. Matt Olson's not getting younger. What is he, 31, 32 this year? I mean, this is just ridiculous. They're closer to the Pittsburgh Pirates than they are to making the playoffs. Somebody give me a glimmer of hope here. Somebody, Ty, talk me off the ledge right now.
This is the same, mostly the same team that was supposed to be a contender for the division. Like they don't have a single player batting over 275 right now besides Drake Baldwin. I don't know what's going on. Like even when Strider has come back, he hasn't.
Can we move Drake Baldwin to left field?
Good.
Can he play left field?
He can play it better than Verdugo.
They talked about doing it last year in the minor leagues. Put him in left field. Let Sean Murphy play every day behind the plate. At least he's got a 125 WRC plus. Yeah. So then you got two bats in the lineup every day. Go ahead.
Waiting for a guy like Nacho Alvarez to come up and save your team when you have Matt Olson, Austin Riley on the corners, and like why is that the goal? Like why is that the decision that we're making? Why are we not going out and buying somebody? You're in a division with the Mets. Like the Mets are going to spend money. You need to go do that. Like I know that the Jays just gave a $500 million contract to Guerrero, and that doesn't sound like Bo is going to move, but they need to do something. Like the Braves are going to go down as a team with the best lineup who performs maybe the worst this year. Like the Orioles have a lot of question marks, but the Braves are not supposed to have a lot of question marks. This team is supposed to be stud on every corner, and it just doesn't look like that. Michael Harris is I'm getting close to dropping him in dynasty leagues. Like
I know it's terrible. Like I don't know what to say, man. Like we're so far behind the Mets. There is just basically, in my opinion, there is no hope for this season. You had a 10-4 lead today going into the ninth inning, a 10-4 lead. And your bullpen just blows it. I mean, with a guy named Blewett, mind you. I mean, like that's not portending anything in the future to happen. This guy sucks. They cut him after the game. Raisel Iglesias was terrible again.
I was surprised that they even signed a guy with that last name. I feel like the optics and the vibes alone were not good. Oh. Like you don't sign a guy with the last name sucks just because of how it looks.
I mean, the Pirates used to have a guy named Bob Walk as their pitcher, and he was actually decent. But I mean, we're going back a ways to dig that out. But I mean, come on, guys, this is absurd, and I don't know. Peter, talk a little bit because I got to calm down here.
I mean, I think I'm the wrong person to talk Pan to if you're trying to calm down. It's gonna be really hard not to sound like a snarky Mets fan, but I mean. It's very confusing. I mean, I picked, we talked about it. I picked the Braves to win the division this year. It's just to see what the Braves have become. It's shocking. Like it's honestly, this could be a Will Pond Mets team. Like, you guys are signing guys off the street who aren't very good. Like to bring back to the New York Power Hour show, you said Trent Grisham shouldn't have been on the roster. Well, the guy that the Yankees got rid of to keep Trent Grisham is now on your team. So, like, I really don't know what the Braves are doing. They got to fire their GM. Like, he's whatever they're doing isn't working. Like, I don't know.
I don't think we're going to fire Alex Anthopoulos. It's too close to being winning the World Series. Now, here's the thing. They fired the third base coach the other day. Like, he was the guy that was the solution. Get rid of the third base coach. Let's bring Freddie Gonzalez back in. Now, part of me wonders and welcome to the show, JC. I don't know if you've caught any of the start, but I've been on quite the monologue tonight.
I'm not surprised after the way today's
I'm in
game
a
went.
little
I thought
bit of
you
a
would be.
mood. But bringing in Freddie Gonzalez as the third base coach, I have to wonder if that is going to hint at maybe Brian Snitker being on the hot seat, because Freddie Gonzalez has a history as a manager, both with the Atlanta Braves before succeeding Bobby Cox, and also before that or after that, he went and was the manager in Florida for a little bit with the Miami Marlins. So if this season continues on the trajectory that it's on, could we see Brian Snitker let go? Mind you, this is 4 years after winning the World Series. And then Freddie Gonzalez slid in as like an interim manager. Is that something that you guys would buy into, or do you see that happening? Ty, what are your thoughts?
I don't know. I'm kind of one of those guys that when teams start firing managers, I don't know. Like, yeah, do we need to shake things up? Sure, but people need to play better, I think, is what it's coming down to.
That's always the case when managers get fired.
It is, and it's a bummer because Snitker has been great for them, but it might kind of need to be like a fear thing. Like, we need to absolutely shake this up, and your manager's gone. Nobody is safe. And, I want them to do something big. And if that big thing is not going to be go sign somebody, then it's going to have to be to fire somebody.
When does Acuna's contract come up? He has a while, right?
He's got a while still. Let me pull it up and I'll tell you the exact. He's got a few more years. Let's see. Ronald Acuna Jr.
Because I don't know if it's the media overblowing it, but there has seemed to have been some unsteadiness between him and the Braves. I can't think of a player on the Braves right now. Maybe Schallenbacher, but at least with the bat that you can get a nice haul for. Is that someone you might consider?
They've got him for 3 more years after this, so he's got a long time still on his deal. They're not going to do anything with Ronald Acuna. Like, they're not giving up. I mean, they've got too many talented players to just give up and rebuild.
This team is not supposed to look like this.
No.
The thing about the Braves is they have on paper still the roster that you look at and you go, okay, this is a serious contender, should be one of the better teams in the NL. Because, you run through the names, even with guys not playing as well as they have been, you still have one of the better rosters in baseball. And it's one of those things where I know they're 27-33, they're way behind. They're probably not going to make the playoffs this year. Is it too big of a shakeup at this point in the year to fire a manager who's been playing significantly winning baseball for how long has it been? 8 years, 7 years in a row now, since the Braves had a losing season? My thought is I think that might be too big of a move. That's my only thought.
You got to shake things up.
Okay. Call me, this is baseball. This is fantasy related to a certain extent, but would moving Sean Murphy not make sense? He's a guy who I feel like is on he provides value to teams with his defense, and his bat's been not good recently, but it was really good when the season started.
Well, he's got a 125 WRC plus this year.
Right, but it hasn't been good the last like a few weeks, but it was really great when he first got healthy. But that's a guy who's plus defense and capable bat is going to be a valuable player around the league. And I think Drake Baldwin has kind of been the guy who's been like the energy inducer in this team recently. And he's been doing it on the defensive end the last couple of days as well, which has been, I think, one of those things that's like, maybe that's an opportunity to get another impact guy at a more needed position to try to upgrade the roster. That's like the one name to me that feels movable.
And I'm, diving into some stats again. I mean, Ozzie Albies, should we sound some alarms on Ozzie Albies? I mean, 3 out of the last 4 years. I mean, you're talking about 3 out of the last 4 years, he's had a WRC plus of below 100. This year it's at 83, last year 95, and in 2022 it was 94. The outlier out of that group is in 2023, he had a 125. But 3 out of 4 years now, he's below average hitter.
I think that might be closer to what he is, though. I almost think there might be too much helium given to his name at this point in his career. He's not the player he was in 2019, 2021.
No, the stats are bearing it out.
Yeah, but I almost think it's like that's what he is. You kind of have to accept that. The idea of Ozzie Albies as this star second baseman probably isn't really who he is. but isn't he hitting like 7th?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
he's
6th, 7th right
6th
now.
or 7th most days. I think he's typically batting after Azuna, who's in the 5 spot. So
Right.
But the bottom half of this lineup, you've got Albies, Verdugo, Nick Allen, and Michael Harris. I mean, none of those guys are doing anything at the plate. I mean, and before you hopped on, I mentioned that last year there was talks in the minors of putting Drake Baldwin into trying him out in the outfield, particularly in left field. So I'm wondering, can he do that?
Probably could. He's athletic enough. I don't see why it's a complete. I mean, it's not like Verdugo's this incredible, amazing.
No, he's
defensive
negative.
outfielder.
He's a negative fielder at this stage.
I don't know. At least he provides. He's like, I mean, he's hitting 320 nearly. You have to find room for the guy who's been the best bat in your lineup on an everyday basis, and he's just in there every other day, and that's way too. It's not enough at all for a team that needs a spark.
I mean, yeah, Drake Baldwin's great. He's got an 880 OPS right now. I mean, as a rookie, that's a pretty damn good guy to have in the lineup. In the top half of the lineup is really fine. I mean, leading off with Acuna, Drake Baldwin, Austin Riley, Matt Olson. I mean, Marcelo Ozuna. That whole group is producing. Matt Olson, I am concerned about. It feels like he might be on the decline a little bit. Now seeing him almost 32 years old. His stats have kind of gone down each of the last couple of years. So there is a little bit of fear in that, but there's time. But you can't have Spencer Strider going out there and with almost a 6 ERA. He has got to pull it together. I still am questionable what the hell is going on with Grant Holmes. Like, this was a weird move to me, deciding to put him in as one of your key fixtures in the rotation. I mean, this is a guy that was never like, he didn't have a pedigree coming up. He was primarily not a starter earlier in his career. Putting him in a spot that you have to get production from is a little leery. Now, granted, he's been okay, not great, but Atlanta needs another frontline starter. I mean, you've got Chris Sale, and you need a solid number 2 right now. Grant Holmes is not the guy that I would want to rely on as a number 2.
Schwellenbach is that number 2 for sure.
Schwellenbach had a couple weird games, but his last 2 have been unbelievable. Like 2 of the best games I've seen.
That's where I was going to go to next. Is his last 2 games have not been great. Like, and maybe Strider pulls it together. He's just coming back from injury still, so like maybe I don't need to be jumping off the cliff. But
Strider's fastball velo is down over 2 miles an hour so far from 2 seasons ago. Was a stat that I saw, and that's concerning.
That's common though after TJ. So
exactly, and but his advanced numbers aren't good, but he's still getting a lot of swing and miss. And I think it's only a couple starts. You got to give him time because he may not be the Cy Young best player in the league he was a couple of years ago, but he could absolutely be I would think within a couple weeks, there's a good chance he rounds into form where he starts looking more like that number 2 guy at a minimum in a rotation. And I don't know, the Grant Holmes and Bryce Elder portion of it is kind of going to be the area where, because now Bryce Elder is going to be in the rotation every turn as well because of the
Holmes was probably expected to be the number 5,
right?
So I'm being a little hard
with Ronaldo Lopez.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I was going to go next. Is I was probably going a little hard on the front office with the rotation because you had Lopez and Smith-Shawver go down with injuries. Mm-hmm. If you have those 2 guys in the rotation, I mean, it looks a lot better because you don't have Bryce Elder in there. You've got Holmes toward the back of the rotation, not taking up a mid part of the rotation. But where I will hammer the freaking organization again is on Jurickson Profar. This is a guy you gave a big contract to, who outside of really 2 years with the Padres and they weren't consecutive, his career has been very mediocre. His career WRC plus is 99, and that is being boosted big time by his 2024 with San Diego. But prior to that, I mean, you're looking at in 2023, it was a 78, 2021 an 87. I mean, this is a league average to a below league average hitter for the majority of his career, and you give him a big contract to anchor down left field. Come on.
You can't predict him getting suspended for 80 games.
But you can predict that he's not been a productive hitter for the majority of his career.
I agree it was a bad contract. I think hindsight is very 2020 with him. Was it an overpay? 100%. Does it look atrociously terrible now? 100% it does, but that's just things change. I don't know. I feel like you can definitely be frustrated with the front office, but I think some of that frustration stems from the suspension as well, which isn't their fault.
And I don't think bringing him in was like, okay, this guy is going to win us the chip this year. Like we already have a team that can win a championship. We just need somebody who isn't going to lose us games. And he did that without really touching the field, which is like, again, like you can't predict something like that happening. But anytime I see people getting nabbed for PEDs and they're doing this, oh, I thought it was something else. There's got to be a trainer or an agent that needs to be spoken to by the front office, because either he's straight up lying to you and you should know your players better than that to let them like gallivant off into like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go do some PEDs today. If it is like I was getting my hair cut and he put some steroid cream on it because he cut me a la Tatis, then like we need to talk to someone, because he's not making smart decisions or somebody in his inner circle is taking advantage of him. You can't predict that kind of stuff, but like that needs to be a very serious conversation. And somebody said earlier tonight about the vibes feel weird with Brian Snitker right now. Like with the punishments and vocality, and some players are getting chastised for doing things, but some players are allowed
the inconsistency with Jared Kelenic incident earlier in the year.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, and going back to Profar, you know, I'm looking at his Fangraphs page right now. Last year he had a 4.3 WAR season. Outside of that, the highest WAR production he's ever had was a 2.4.
He was a bust up until like.
So everybody had to know. I mean, you look at him and it's like it's an outlier season. It's not going to continue. Like I can't hammer that deal enough, because that's really going to be an anchor on the franchise now moving forward. Made no effort to sign Max Fried to an extension.
That one hurts, especially with how dominant he's been this year. That's one of those where, man, you could really use him right now.
And a team that, like, if you end up doing well, you're probably going to meet in the finals. And losing to a guy in Game 7 when you didn't re-sign him 11 months ago is a painful thing to do.
And somebody mentioned in the Discord that Atlanta should look at going to make a deal with Toronto for Bo Bichette. But I just do not see that being a reality. I mean, you've got Toronto right there on the cusp of making the playoffs. A team's just not going to suddenly trade away all their pieces when they're in position to make it, because all you have to do, we've seen this over the last several years, all you have to do is get into the playoffs and anything can happen. So I don't see, unless Toronto falls apart in the next month, I don't see them moving Bo Bichette, even if they don't think they can extend him. In my opinion, that's a guy they're going to keep because they want to make the playoffs, and they've got a shot right now, being second in the NL East. I believe they're tied for a wild card spot, or are they half a game out?
They're in a wild card spot right now.
They're in a wild card spot. Yeah, so they're not going to deal away a key piece like that. Right there. When
I mean, you can't really, after you give your best player $500 million to stay, you can't start cutting bait when you're in a wild card spot. Even I don't think they're going to be there when the time comes. But what kind of message is that sending to your team and your fan base after making that Vlad extension?
Of course, we saw it with Detroit last year, how they traded away and then all of a sudden they made a run.
That's only a Tigers thing, though. I don't think anybody else can do something like that. That seems like just a Detroit type of magic. Like, the thing with Toronto is a lot of our starters are coming up on the ends of their one more year or going to free agency this year. And if my worry is that Bo does not want to be here, and that if we're going to sell, we need to do it. Like, you can't do this middling, I'll keep my 34-year-old starting pitcher and Chris Bassett and Kevin Gausman, but I'm going to deal away, my young shortstop. I don't think that is the right decision, but I don't know if he wants to be here anymore. And I get a very, like, once you shit on me, I don't want to come back kind of vibe from him. And I've been a big Bo Bichette guy for many years, obviously being from Toronto. But the offseason chit-chat this year was just that he doesn't want to be around, and he doesn't say it out loud. It's just kind of this nonchalance. And this is maybe my fantasy perspective of, like, if I can see, in this league, teams like DBU if I can see that happening next to me, making the playoffs is cool, but making the playoffs to lose future value, to get knocked out in the first round to a team that's like inevitably going to beat the shit out of you, I don't know if that is the right idea to do things. Our farm is like not anything to write home about right now either, outside of like Savage and Namala. I don't think I'd hate it either way, and the reason I think he would go to the Braves is the Anthopoulos connection, right? That somebody that he trusts, somebody that he knows well, and I don't know. I don't want it to happen. I want the Jays to compete, and I don't think selling your, what is he, like 25-year-old, 24-year-old shortstop is a way to compete, obviously. I don't want to get knocked out in the first round and have him walk.
JC, what do you think about Bo Bichette? Do you think that's a guy that they're going to hang on to? What do you think that Toronto does moving forward?
I think I'm looking at Toronto right now. The way they are this season, I mean, they're 4 games over 500 right now. They've been playing pretty good baseball as of late. Bichette himself has really heated up recently. I mean, that is a team that is playing pretty good baseball, in all honesty. And I feel like they're maybe not getting quite what they expected out of some of the pitching. Like Bowden Francis was awesome second half of last season. He's been terrible this year. But at the same time, they're getting pretty significant contributions from, like, Chris Bassett started the year a lot better than people expected him to. And I just think, I mean, Berrios has been solid. Gosman's been awesome, as he's almost been better than he was last year, honestly, because last year was a bit of a step backwards for him. And even with him getting older, he's been good. And it's one of those teams where they're in a wild card spot right now, just like you talked about. We see teams, especially in baseball, constantly from the wild card spots win series, go deep in the playoffs, compete for and even win World Series. And I just think this is a team where you're probably looking around the rest of the AL and you're going, there isn't that Dodgers team that's like, we can't beat this team. I think they probably look at their competition and go, yeah, New York, Detroit, teams like that are going to be tough, but we can compete. I don't see them selling this year at the deadline unless things were to really go downhill quickly, which I guess is possible. I mean, things can change quickly. If we go 3 weeks and all of a sudden they lose 14 of 18, it's going to be like, well, maybe things change. But as of right now, with their trajectory, I just don't see them selling Bo. I feel like that's not the type of team that the team like Atlanta would be realistically able to get help from. I just don't see I feel like the Blue Jays are a team that could realistically even try to be buyers. I know, like Ty said, they don't have the strongest farm system, but if you add a piece or two to a team that's already playing pretty well, I mean, Addison Barger's been awesome recently. You're getting some contributions from some guys who weren't contributors at that level last year as well. Like, I would be encouraged if I was the Jays. Maybe Santander comes back and starts to play like an all-star again. If you can get some contributions from him, I don't know. It's possible.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you, JC, in those takes. I definitely think that Toronto's going to try to find a way to buy some pieces. I don't know. You know, I do think it's going to be hard. Of course, they do have a couple of guys in AAA that I do like. In Yohendrick, I can never pronounce his name. I wish that Ram was on. Panengo, Yohendrick Panengo, I think is how you pronounce it. Ram, it's one of Ram's favorite guys, but I think that's a guy that could come up and help them. He hits the ball really hard. His exit velocities are really good. And then RJ Schreck, whose exit velocities are not great. But he makes a lot of contact, sprays the ball around. I think those are two guys that could either come up or could be used in trade chips to go and get other pieces. I don't know if anybody would trade for a Ricky Tiedemann at this moment. I mean, he's been hurt so much. I did want to bring up BL in the chat, says Bo wants money, but is he worth that number? Absolutely he is. Bo Bichette right now is trending for a 4.5, 5 WAR season. I mean, that's a damn good year for Bo Bichette in a contract year. So I think he's absolutely earning his keep right now and earning his contract. Ty, did you have a comment about the farm system?
No, my cat's just destroying stuff right now, and I'm trying to give her a death scare.
I have to lock my dogs out of here. Otherwise, they'll come in and bark and everything else. Steven says only the Brewers can trade a key piece in the middle of a race. Yeah, we've seen that before with Hader and others from the Brewers right in the middle of contention. Ram says that I'm surprised an organization like the Braves, who are very tight wallet spenders, decided to overpay for a career year, referring to Profar. Very non-AA move over there. I actually want to combat and push back on this a little bit. I think there's a perception of that because of like the Ozzie Albies contract, and then also failing to re-sign Freddie Freeman and Max Fried. However, it is an organization with a top 5 payroll right now. So it's not like they're treading him down around, Colorado or Chicago White Sox or something like that level. It is an upper third at worst payroll. So they have been willing to spend. They re-signed Marcell Ozuna. A couple years ago, they gave Sean Murphy an extension when he came over in trade, and Matt Olson as well. So they have been willing to spend. It's just they pick their spots, maybe to the frustration of the fan base quite a bit. But
even in some of the players that, granted, from an outsider perspective looking in, I can't tell you how many times I've seen the Braves sign somebody and it feels like it's below market value, and they donate 1% to the Braves charity, like every time they sign somebody. So it's like, I with Fried, I feel like the fact that you didn't even try, like that's a big failing from the organization.
Steven brings up another good point that Kyle Stevenson might be a fairly legit prospect. I do think that they could package him with one of the outfielders that I was mentioning and get a pretty good piece. And Steven is one of those guys that's been kind of rising in the prospect rankings over the last year. So that's a good point, Steven. Thanks for bringing up him. Kind of the same name there with Steven. But yeah, that was a good point and a good suggestion. Another, just kind of transitioning off of the Braves and the Blue Jays now. Something I did want to bring up that came out this morning. And I don't know if you guys saw this. I haven't been around to chat in the group chats or anything much today. But the White Sox coming to an agreement with Justin Ishbia on selling the franchise. Basically, it becomes he's already a minority owner anyway, which I think that got kind of lost in the messaging. If you remember that he was considered one of the leaders connected with the Pohlads in buying the Twins. And then right before the season, I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a thing that came out that he was considering no longer selling the team. And there was kind of a snag in trying to find a buyer. I have a feeling that this Ishbia thing must have been in the works with the White Sox at that time. And he must have pivoted from the Twins back to the White Sox. Just because of the timing and the way that came about. But the deal is he's going to be making several further investments into the club over the next 2 years. And then there's an option beginning in 2029 to where management can go ahead and basically offer him to buy it outright beginning in 2029. And then the option continues to roll over until 2034. And at that time, Justin Ishbia could go ahead and decide himself that he's going to go ahead and buy out the other partners in that group. So I thought that was really encouraging for White Sox fans who've been very, very upset. I wish Kevin could have come on with us tonight. I know he's been outspoken against the White Sox ownership there in Chicago. There was some rumors that they were looking at Nashville as a potential moving spot last summer. So I think this is encouraging because of the fact that the Ishbia brothers have been very fan friendly over the years. With the Phoenix Suns a couple years ago with the whole Bally nonsense that was going down, I really liked that they created an ability for the local in-market fan base to be able to watch their games free of charge on over-the-air affiliates in the throughout Arizona. So I think that this is a very positive sign for the White Sox. Did you guys have any thoughts when you saw this news today? JC, I'll start with you. What was your thoughts on the potential sale here?
Well, I'm a big basketball fan as well as a baseball fan, and Matt Ishbia with the Suns has made some interesting moves, I would have to say, over the last couple of years since acquiring the team. And so to me, it's a different sport, different brother, but I immediately am like, okay, whoa. So the White Sox are going to try to be competitive in all likelihood at some point. I think we definitely see a different shift over the next probably couple of years in the White Sox mentality, I would guess, as the, official finalization of this type of ownership deal comes along. I would assume, even if he's not going to be the majority owner immediately, there's a good chance we'll see him have influence, I would think. And that can open up the door, I think, for the White Sox to become a very interesting franchise. I also found it fascinating. This was announced on the same day that Kyle Teal got called up. Just happens to be that another big part of their future is involved in the same day. And I wonder, I mean, the White Sox obviously they're better than they were last year for sure, but they're still really bad. So being better than you were last year is something, I guess. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. I feel like we're a few years away from likely seeing serious impact of whatever moves are made, but this definitely, I feel like, signals a new era for the White Sox in terms of their aggression and their desire to be a competitive franchise. And I don't really have hesitation that they're going to be willing to spend money now. They're going to try to take advantage of that Chicago market and go get away from being little brother, I would say, in a lot of ways. Kind of similarly to the Mets. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a situation where they get more aggressive to try to become more of a competitor in that market and reestablish themselves. Yeah, and they Matt Ishbia will be a minority owner in that group when they take over for Jerry Reinsdorf. Jerry Reinsdorf's 89 years old. So right. I just have a feeling that this is going to be, and they already announced that they are going to keep the Bulls in the family. His son Michael has been kind of running a lot of the day-to-day stuff for both of those organizations, and the Bulls will stay in the family. But they are going to be shipping out the White Sox to the Ishbia brothers, basically. And I think that this is going to be really fascinating because Chicago's a massive market. I mean, there's a lot of potential if they come in. And the Cubs across town have been criticized ad nauseum for not spending as much as people think they should. So suddenly there's a potential opportunity here. Now, the reinvestments that Justin is going to be doing over the next 2 years will be completely used to pay down debt. So I have a lot of not concerns, but curiosities about, okay, are you trying to pay down this debt so that then you could privately finance a new stadium? Because we know there's been a lot of talks about a stadium deal, and local government has said that they are not interested in funding one. So I think that this is going to be a very fascinating story to watch, and I think it's becoming an exciting time for the White Sox. Ty, did you have any thoughts on this deal or?
Yeah, I see Ram commenting too, saying, echoing to what JC was talking about the Suns making some interesting moves. And if interesting means buying superstars and trying to compete like to the death of you, I'm game. Like that's what I want to see. I want to see teams making big splashes and trying to do things, especially like, yeah, okay, we've got maybe a super team in there right now, but in winnable divisions, being laid back doesn't do anything for you, right? We saw the Cubs make a big move to move up in their division, and it worked. Like the Tigers aren't like an insurmountable team. Like this is a team that just last year was sellers, right? So I think paying some money is a good idea, but like what you're saying, Ash, about, trying to pay down some debts, I do think that will be the way to go. And I like seeing teams gunning for it. So, I, like Ram said too, I'd like to see an expansion team before I see a moved team. But that might not happen with the way that the Rockies are going right now. But yeah, I like it. I think it's a good idea. This is the kind of move that doesn't just start blaming people, managers, GMs, but is saying like, look, collectively, we need to make some changes. And this is a very large change. This is a change that says, hey, buckle up because you guys are about to spend a lot of money and you're about to try to do some stuff. And I like that. I agree. Also, give me Montreal back, Mark. I agree.
I do want to, if I can respond to what Ty said real quickly. I find it absolutely fascinating that I think Ram makes a great point in the comments that with MLB, you don't have the same type of salary restraints and second apron and things of that nature that you do in the NBA, which certainly changes things. That being said, I think Ty framed the Suns' moves in a very positive light when in reality they missed the play-in this year. They couldn't make the play-in over a Mavs team that pretty much played through Spencer Dinwiddie for a month. And I don't know if y'all follow basketball, but that's not great. The Suns were extremely disappointing both of the last 2 years, especially this year. They mortgaged their future for a present that crashed and burned pretty spectacularly and are now likely set up for a pretty challenging future compared to the assets they had. Now they do still have assets to create, and they do have aggressive ownership. Aggressive ownership is good. Fan-friendly ownership is good. Both of those things are good things. That being said, I don't know if you want to see a mortgaging of your present and your future for a risky, unstable present, which is exactly what happened in Phoenix. And that's where I say I'm a little concerned, and that's why I consider those moves interesting and don't have as much of a positive spin on them.
I agree. Like I definitely they didn't do what I thought that was going to happen, but a lot of like basketball is such a smaller niche on the court that when you have three guys who all want the ball in their hands, you are in trouble. True. And when you bring in guys who are all making what was it? I don't have the numbers in front of me, but like top 15 paid contracts in the league. Bradley Beal was on one of the most outrageous contracts I've ever seen for a player that is just not good. It's not that they made good moves, it's that they made big moves. And big moves sell tickets. Winning sells tickets too, but big moves make you think they're going to win, and then you buy a season's ticket and then they lose. And the Whites, like I don't know who said this, Spram said it again, willing to spend in 5 years. Yeah, I think that makes more sense than next year they're going out and buying every single free agent and just saying, hey, we're going to gun it. I don't think that's a good idea either. But I like a team that wants to make moves.
They have some very interesting pitching prospects. That's a team that has the potential, if guys like Noah Schultz and Hagen Smith and Grant Taylor were to pan out, you could have yourself a couple of front of the line
Montgomery coming up. They've got some interesting prospects. Like, I'm not going to lie, like they're not ready to start spinning yet, but 3 years from now, they might be. And who knows? This deal may end up happening sooner because, like we mentioned, Reinsdorf's not getting any younger. So this may happen before then, even. Just speculating here, but
it definitely could. I mean, when Cohen bought the Mets, the first original deal was that he would be the majority owner in name, but the Wilpons would remain in control for 5 years. Then that got scrapped, and we had to start over from scratch and bought the team. I do think that we have to wait a little bit until he becomes the majority owner for them to actually spend real money. But I'm a firm believer in change comes from the top, and if your owner's not willing to spend money, and more importantly, hire the right people and stay out of the way, then that's how you make change. I've seen it with the Mets. I'm waiting for the Jets to make change at the top.
Not going to happen.
I know.
Sorry.
No, you're not wrong. But we're talking about baseball, not football. But I do think the White Sox fans should be excited. When Steve Cohen became the owner, he traded for Lindor and signed him to an extension, really solidifying, and showing to the fans like we're ready to start winning. Now, obviously, just throwing money at a problem doesn't solve it. We saw what happened 2022. The Mets had a ridiculous payroll. They won 101 games and then got embarrassed in the playoffs. So it has to be a nice partnership of spending money and building your farm system. Like Ash mentioned, there are some nice pieces there in the pitching and Montgomery. So there is something to build on. So if I'm a White Sox fan, I would be excited. I think you guys are going to be good in a couple of years if everything pans out the way it should.
Well, and I think one thing that often gets overlooked is that baseball does have a rule for their clubs that there can only be the ratio of like their debt service can only be so high. And I'm not going to pretend to be a finance guy and understand the total complexities of this, but this is where them specifically stating that the reinvestments are going to be used to pay down debt leads me to believe that they want to elevate spending after they spend down that debt because they want to take on new debt after that. If that makes sense, and if you guys can kind of follow with my line of thought in that. Yeah, so it just leads me to believe they either want to do a major capital project with a new stadium or spending on free agents or both. And I don't know if you guys remember, because I know I'm the elder statesman in the room, but there was a time whenever the White Sox get good, it's really weird how there's White Sox fans everywhere because they have like one of those brands that's almost, they're not Raiders level.
The Pope is a White Sox fan, so there you go.
Well, there you go. There you go. But it's like they have this edge to their brand that, like, because they're on the south side of Chicago, there's always that chip on their shoulder. They were one of the few teams in the 90s and early 2000s that wore black uniforms. Like they just had this edginess to them. that there's a lot more White Sox fans out there than what we know, because like they've been bad. I mean, they haven't won a playoff series since 2005 when they won the World Series. And when they get good, their fans start showing up, and I mean, you all of a sudden you see people wearing the White Sox hats. I mean, their gear is always cool. There's just a mystique around that logo and their colors and their brand, that whenever they get good, you start seeing their gear everywhere. And so I think it would be really good for the sport to see the Chicago White Sox become competitive again. And I tell you, 4 or 5 years ago, I really thought they were on the edge of having that Central Division on lock, with Lou Bob and Yohan Moncada was looking like a stalwart at third base. Eloy Jimenez, like I thought that team was going to be the force in the Central Division. Of course, it didn't pan out. But
yeah, you're going to get some divine help here from the Pope. Yeah. The White Sox might be good tomorrow.
Yeah, with a bunch of money coming in and God on their side, look out for the White Sox, man.
Yeah.
Bram even says this is solely motivated by the fact the Pope is a White Sox fan. Another comment from Rand, actually on the topic of the South Side Chicago White Sox City Connects are absolutely fire. They are. They do have a good uniform combination there.
The pinstripes too, I think, is like just another easy non-baseball person who wants to wear a baseball attire, even if they're not a baseball fan. People who are not baseball fans wear Yankees hats, Dodgers hats, and they wear pinstripe hats. And sometimes that means the White Sox.
They're easy color combo to match with things, for sure.
Exactly.
When it comes to fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Before any other thoughts on that before we pivot to something else? Now, Peter, did you have anything else on the White Sox news? Okay, well, another thing that I haven't seen getting any discussion anywhere, social media or anything, this morning it came out that Rob Manfred will officially propose the ABS challenge system be implemented for next season at the end of this year, which I know that that has been something that has been a very hot topic of discussion among fans. Are you guys in favor of the ABS automatic ball strike system, the challenge system specifically, being implemented next year, or would you prefer to say the same, or would you prefer the full ABS system?
I'd like the challenge. I don't think that you need to do it 100% of the time. It's probably going to slow down the game, kind of ruin the fact that you have the pitch clock there, which has honestly been a success. So you want to keep speeding up the game for. It's growing. Baseball is growing on TV. The numbers have been skyrocketing. While it does hurt the in-game experience, TV is where these teams make their money. So obviously they want to keep doing that. But yeah, I'm all for the challenge. I have been negative against Rob Manfred, and I still think he should end the blackouts. But he's done some really good things, and I do think he should be praised for his run as commissioner so far overall.
It's better than Bud Selig, I will say that.
Yeah, I like the ABS challenge system. I don't think I would like a total robo-ump situation. Part of what is so beautiful about baseball is that it is a guy back there who has relationships with players and pitchers, and he has his own idea of what's going on, and I like that. But Laz Diaz had a missed call that was like 9 inches or something off the plate today for like the worst missed call of like whatever, I don't know, this Instagram group that does umpire judging was like, this is the worst.
Scorecards?
Yeah, the scorecards. It was the worst that they've ever seen. That kind of stuff happening and then getting exasperated when a player asks questions is something that I just don't think the game can handle right now. When you're getting your best player thrown out over something that he's right about, like it's one thing if you're like talking smack and you're getting in the umpire's face because of a correct call, but when it is so blatantly bad and you have nothing that you can do besides bite your tongue and go back and sit down in close games, in playoff games, I don't like that. I think the Taylor Walls ejection was probably my favorite ejection that I've ever seen. That is exactly why we need this system, and we need to be able to hold umpires accountable. Hey, I'm all for like job security and making sure they're taken care of and that they're not being harassed by fans and teams and ownership and management. but everybody on the field needs to have accountability, and that doesn't exclude the umpires.
I 100% agree. Unfortunately, like obviously we've seen a lot of bad calls, and they're human. That's going to happen. But the problem is we've seen far too many times where the umpires are the aggressors in these fights, and that can't happen. You're supposed to fairly umpire the game. Like if you make a bad call, just own up to it. Mm-hmm. Like obviously everyone's going to be mad, and there's still going to be ejections and fights, I'm sure, but you can't be the aggressors in this. Like that's why we have to have this.
I think another thing that would be good for the league is to mic up umpires. Like all the time, maybe not broadcast the entire mic'd up thing, but to be able to listen to them. Because sometimes if a player is mic'd up at bat or there's just a microphone in the area, you'll hear an umpire be like, oh crap, hey, I missed that. That's my fault. And I want to hear that. I want to know that he's like, damn, I take this seriously and I messed that up. I blinked at the wrong time. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, yeah, this is a human thing. And if the guy up there looking for pitches to hit sometimes can't hit them, then the guy looking to see where they are is probably having a hard time too, right? He doesn't have an immaculate view of things, right? He's perched over a guy's shoulder. He's standing out there for 3 hours. I get that it's a hard job, but I think it's going to protect both sides to be able to challenge calls and to see that like, hey, that's my fault. I love seeing referees, umpires, linesmen admit when they've made mistakes, and we're just not seeing that enough.
I think there's a few aspects of this, to be totally honest. I am in agreement with both of y'all that I think the challenge system is great. I think, number one, it just leaves the human element of umpiring into baseball, which I think is something that fans appreciate. I think the full ABS system slows down games a bit, but also I just think it takes away that element, which I think is integral to baseball. But also, I think it does provide a check and a balance for the umpires, like Ty was saying, where you do see them being aggressors sometimes, and even when they're wrong. Aggressors when they're wrong can be a real that's a real problem. I mean, they're human. They have egos just like we all do. It's going to happen. Things like that are going to happen. People are going to make mistakes. People are flawed. But at the same time, I think having a check and balance that is a fact, it's not a argument, it's not a debate, is a good thing. And I think the system was a huge success in spring training. I think it brings interest to the game. I mean, can you imagine in a playoff game, you got a big moment, bottom of the ninth, the guy challenges a pitch on a 3-2. Like that's the type of thing that can add intrigue to a baseball game. It adds those moments of, I think, tension as well that are exciting for fans. I think it's good for fans. I think it's good for the hitters. I think it's good as a check and a balance on the umpire. And I also think it almost could potentially even serve as a way to protect the umpires a little bit. They make a mistake, it gets fixed. Fans are a lot less mad at them than the fan is going to be if the umpire makes a huge mistake in a big moment, and that's that. The mistake is done. You can't go back and change it. This is an opportunity to solve that issue because, like Ty said, they're human. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to get calls wrong. That's okay. Having a check, and this feels like it checks all the boxes for me.
Yeah, I agree. Steven mentions the challenge adds a fun wrinkle. Catchers would really control it and happening really fast in spring training. Yeah, it happens really fast. If you guys have been to any AAA games in the last couple of years where they've had it, I mean, it happens pretty quickly. And it adds, at the end of the day, baseball is an entertainment, a form of entertainment. And this just adds a new wrinkle of strategy. Like, do you use it in the first inning or because, you usually have a limited number of challenges in the game. So it does add a little bit of a wrinkle. And plus, to your point, JC, about longer games with the full ABS system, if it's a 15-2 game, nobody cares that the umpire widens the zone a little bit. In fact, most of us are perfectly fine with that.
Exactly.
We don't need to see 8 walks in a 12-run game. I mean, let's move it along here and get it over with. But yeah, speaking of pitching performances. Something that I did want to mention is that Noah Cameron has come up for the Kansas City Royals and just absolutely shoved. Today, he went 6 innings, only gave up 2 hits, no runs, 2 walks, and struck out 3. But his previous performances, I mean, let's see here. I had it pulled up. What did I do? I lost it. Sorry, guys. I'm going to have to re-pull up his stats. Here it is. On the season, I mean, this is a guy that he gave up no runs today. He's given up now 3 runs in his 5 appearances for the Royals. He is off to a really good start. You guys have any thoughts on Noah Cameron? Because he was a guy that I kind of targeted in some of my fantasy drafts. And so I'm glad to see the start that he's off to, because we don't always see this out of debuts with guys.
I had him in the CBL. I traded him. I regret it, obviously. I traded for him because I liked him, and then I included him in another package, thinking he wouldn't impact the MLB level quite to this extent, this quickly. But he's been awesome. And I think, to be totally fair, Fangraphs doesn't right now have his stats for today, but it has his stats for his other 4 starts. There is certainly some luck right now, a little bit anyway, coming into how he's pitching. He was, but his FIP is still under 4. He's not been a 1 ERA superstar pitcher the way that the raw numbers say, and he wasn't that in AAA or AA either. He's a guy who is likely not going to be the frontal line starter that he looks like right now. He doesn't have overpowering stuff, but he does locate it well, although he's walked a couple more batters than you'd like to see for a guy with not elite velocity and not insane stuff. And so I think there's a talent there to be a consistent mid-rotation guy. I'm not sure he's going to continue to be this front of rotation guy the way that he has been his first 5 or so starts, but he is absolutely having a historic start to his career at this point. I mean, he is doing phenomenal things, and it's very impressive. And I would say much needed for the Royals. Like, they obviously could use another guy playing at this level. I don't see it continuing to this level, but I also think he might be a guy who's just one of those players who doesn't need a lot of time to adjust the MLB level. He's a little bit older, a little bit more experienced. There is some he's 25. I mean, there is some maturity there that I think might be helping him out, and he can be a guy who can contribute right now to a winning team.
Yeah, I mostly agree with you. I've kind of always saw him as like a 3-4 starter. And I think that he's coming out and not hurting himself, obviously, to start. So, Ty, is this a guy that's kind of been on your radar in recent years? What do you think of him?
I don't know. He's not a flashy guy. And I tend to go for pitchers that are going to strike a lot of guys out in fantasy purposes. That's just kind of my MO. But 5 quality starts and 5 games started, whether or not he's striking out 10 guys per 9 or 4 guys per 9, I'm not going to start questioning it.
We need JT and the no hope. We need to know what his no hope's been.
I'm curious what Kansas does with their rotation now. Like, I don't think his play is warranted a demotion now that Reagans is back. Do we put Lorenzen back in the pen? Because this guy's got to start. Like, this guy needs to be in the rotation until he shows that maybe he shouldn't be. But I really like it. I'm pulling up his Savant page right now. And it's just really good, man. Like, it's not flashy stuff, but it plays really, really well. Let's see, he's got 5 pitches that he's throwing, all of which over 12%. Like, that's a starter's repertoire. That's a guy that's going to figure out a way to get outs. And he's only given up 15 hits. He's walked 10, but he's only given up 15 hits. So I want them to ride with him, like, for as long as they can. I'm going to read what Steven said here too. Yeah, certainly not this good. But the guy knows how to pitch. And like JC was saying, being 25 gives you some experience, gives you a little bit of being able to stay calm in those pressure situations. But if he's a number 5 starter, you are in a good spot.
And I think that's the biggest thing, again, at the end, is like, I saw it as a Rangers fan. I've seen it this year with Kumar Rocker and a little bit Jack Leiter, last year with Jack Leiter a lot, where it's these guys who are kids. They were superstars at college. They have this high level, exciting, flashy stuff, but they come in and MLB hitters are good and it's hard. And you get into these spots and you make a mistake and you leave a pitch over the middle of the plate, or you all of a sudden lose your control and you can't get guys, you can't throw strikes, so you can't get guys out. Like, this is something that happens all the time with these young pitchers, and having a guy with the experience that he has a lot of reps. He's had a lot of moments where the bases were loaded and he had 1 out and he has to get a double play ball. Like, he's had these moments where he's had to be in pressure situations, maybe not at the MLB level, but with the amount of reps he's had against quality competition, I think it puts him in position to succeed now. And exactly like Steven said, there's the pitchability there that is going to play regardless of elite strikeout stuff or those types of things, especially when you have 5 pitches to work with.
Yeah, he's honestly the guy. He's a pitcher's pitcher. Like, his stuff isn't overpowering. I love guys like that. I think they're fun to watch. It's just Yeah, like you can't overpower someone with a fastball. Fine, just throw a bunch of weird shit at him, and just confuse him. Like David Peterson's a lot like that. Like he doesn't have super over.
I was literally thinking that he reminds me a lot of David Peterson.
Yeah, like David Peterson's savant page, or it's not going to blow you away. His stats certainly aren't going to blow you away. But he's just a pitcher's pitcher. Like I love guys like that.
He's going to go out there, give you 6 innings, 2 runs, like 4 hits, and just be a consistent. Move the line when his day comes up. He's not going to blow up. He'll get you innings, and he'll keep you in a place where you have a chance to win 95 times out of 100.
And then Ram says here that I wanted to make mention that that Ram's point here, as much as I have a negative to say about the Blue Jays pitching development, I have everything positive to say about the Royals. I did bring this up about a few years ago that the Royals had started poaching some of the pitching staff throughout the minor leagues from the Cleveland Indians and from Minnesota. And if you remember 4 or 5 years ago, though, both of those organizations were really strong in pitching development. And it is starting to, now that we're about 3 years into those coaches being poached by the Royals, we're starting to see the fruits of that labor at the top of their minor leagues with, guys like Noah Cameron coming up. Luinder Avila is doing, it looks like a decent prospect coming up, and several other arms that look like they're like depth pieces and that type of thing that are going to be coming up for the Royals over the next several years. So that overhaul of their pitching development staff is starting to really bear out. I will make mention that in that game, even though Noah Cameron went 6 innings of no runs, the Royals then lost the game 6-5 in the first game of the doubleheader today to the St. Louis Cardinals. And Wilson Contreras walked off the game in extra innings to give the Cardinals the win. And I just have to play the interview that he had after the game.
The doubleheaders, and I said doubleheader for us a challenge because I feel like everything comes here, and they think they're gonna face like a good team or nice team or shitty team, and I think we're a good team and we can fuck everybody and whoever wanna comes here and try to win us they're gonna have a hard time.
Keep it going.
We can fuck anybody. I get the sentiment of like teams are underrating us basically and thinking that they're going to come in and play like the team of last year or something, but just dropping that on live TV
is hard, man.
That's awesome.
That is spectacular right there. I mean, hey, the Cardinals, not a lot of people talk about the Cardinals, but they're fucking everybody right now, to be honest.
They're right there.
They've been pretty impressive. I mean, they're definitely a lot better, a lot more competitive than I thought they'd be this season. I think they're pretty healthy now too, which is Wilson Contreras is playing good now. He was terrible to start the year. I think Ivan Herrera might be the hottest hitter on earth. He's hitting like 350. Or I think he's down to 333. I'm sorry, he's slumping now. They're good. They're legitimately good. I did not expect to see Victor Scott be an actual offensive contributor, but he kind of has been too. Like Jordan Walker's hurt, but I'm not sure that that's actually hurting them that much, to be totally honest. But that's a whole other discussion.
One thing I want to touch on quickly before we get off Noah Cameron, I'm looking at his visuals here for his strike counts and base hits and whatnot, and every single one of his base hits on the year has been above the belt in the top half of the zone. And he's only given up 4 base hits on 2 strike counts. And they're all pitchers' pitches. Like, they shouldn't be hitting this. He's got 1 fastball that's up and in out of the zone, a curveball and a slider, both on the black in the top left corner, and a bad changeup that floated inside middle. But that's a good profile. Like, I like guys who are able to challenge people on 2 strikes and aren't just like, I'm afraid, so I'm going to waste this pitch, or I'm afraid and I'm going to make a mistake and put it middle. That I like that from a 25-year-old.
He's done a really good job of keeping things on the edges. That's for sure.
Yeah, just kind of getting back to the Cardinals though. This was a team that I thought
the Pacers came back. So I'm sorry, that's like I was watching that game
the Rams says the Pacers just came back to take the lead.
Oh my God.
Our
they're the luckiest team or the best. I don't know. That team is insane. I cannot believe they're doing this. Sorry, I know this is baseball podcast.
No, you're good. But the Cardinals were a team that I thought should have been sellers in the winter, in the offseason. I was like, why are you keeping Ryan Helsley? That's a guy that you could get pieces for. I thought St. Louis was the worst team coming into the season, was the worst team in the NL Central. Like, I am just totally blown away. Brendan Donovan is an all-star.
Oh yeah,
For sure.
A 140 WRC plus right now. Like, Brendan Donovan, I mean, and this is the perfect example.
You wish Ozzy Albies was him right now, for sure.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you for the dagger again.
I'm sorry.
We're going to twist the knife. But Brendan Donovan was one of those guys that coming up through the minor leagues was never like a big top 100 guy or anything. And I know a lot of times the guys that I'm looking for and picking up for my fantasy teams are guys like that are kind of under the radar, that are going to be guys that you can just kind of scoop up for free off the waiver wire and that kind of thing. And Brendan Donovan is the epitome of what you're trying to look for in that, because he was never a top 100 guy, never a pedigree guy by any means. Let's see here. He was actually a 7th round draft pick. So obviously he wasn't one of those flashy guys that, you knew was going to be a star, but this is a guy who's never, his worst season, his WRC plus was 115. So like this has been a really productive player, and he's going to be an all-star this year. I mean, he's got 2.2 WAR, which means it's not unrealistic that he gets a 5.5, 6 WAR season this year. I mean,
guys like that are great. I mean, he can play anywhere. He hits crap out of the ball. Like he can hit tall fields. I've always liked him. So obviously he was a great player to pick up on fantasy. You can slot him anywhere. Just the whole Cardinals vibe. They're definitely, I feel like they're overachieving what they were expected to this year. Now it's going to be tough with the Cubs in that division. They're 5 games back now, but still super early. We're not even at the All-Star break yet.
Mm-hmm. And then you've got Alec Burleson, who's having a good year. The one weird part is Nolan Arenado to me is not really, he's not the Nolan Arenado of old, but it's really interesting because that's the one piece they did try to trade, and he invoked his no trade clause on that. So kind of interesting. Any other thoughts on the Cardinals before we pivot to something else? I know that Ty, you had some topics you wanted to cover, but anybody else have any thoughts on the St. Louis Cardinals and where they're going this year?
Yeah, I'm looking at their spot rack page for contracts, and they've got a lot of big names coming up at the end of the year. With the way they're playing right now, they're 20-10 at home. They're 5 games back of the division. Where are they at right now in the wild card? I want to find that, but they're 34-28. Like wild card.
I can check it right now.
I really would like to see them trying to compete.
They're a half game out of the wild card.
Yes.
Like with
They're
all
right
those
there,
contracts coming up, you're like, are we gunning it or are we dumping? But I don't want them to dump.
It's not a franchise that likes to dump, though.
No,
they're still embedded into that community.
The teams around them feel like the type of teams that could dump too. I mean, it's teams like the teams that are closest to them are the Giants, who have been really good, but will that continue? I don't know. I don't trust it.
Save their lives.
Yeah, I just don't trust it. I mean, Helio Ramos is kind of carrying them, him and John Huli, and if those two guys kind of cool down, that team could get a little scary offensively. Milwaukee and Arizona are teams that I feel like wouldn't be surprising to sell. Arizona, I feel like they kind of almost want to. They have these young guys who are playing well, and obviously some older guys as well. I wouldn't be shocked if that's a team that goes like, this isn't probably our year, and like moves a Eugenio Suarez or somebody along those lines. And so I think they're in a position where there are a lot of teams around them that are probably not going to look, we can be better this year and next year. The Cardinals have some like big pieces, yes, but they also have some impact young guys. And this is a team where you might look to add a guy and see if you can.
I don't see the farm
make a run
to buy pieces with there, though.
That's fair. But I mean, maybe it's a team that you're not getting a superstar. You can get a contributor, I'm sure, or somewhere around the edges. I don't know. It's certainly not a team that I think I see selling right now, especially considering they've struggled the last couple of years, and now they're going to sell when they're good again. I just feel like for a franchise that loves baseball, you're probably not going to try to be worse when you've been bad for a couple of years and your franchise is starving for good winning baseball.
Yeah. Ty, you said a bunch of contracts are coming off the books next year, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, they could trade for good players on bad contracts since they're getting a bunch of money off the books next year. If you don't have
everybody in that NL wildcard race right now everybody's up in the air. Arizona is losing pitchers either to injury or to hitters. Seems like every single day. Like depending on what Burns's second opinion comes back as, I could see the Diamondbacks selling. Obviously, they've got a few really core pieces that they're obviously not going to move, but I don't think that they think that they're either taking the division or knocking out the Dodgers. So I don't know. I would like to see St. Louis, we're saying they don't have a lot of pieces and they really don't to move, but I don't think they're far away from being like an actual NL wildcard competitive team here. So long as they're guys who are kind of playing a bit inflated baseball right now can continue to play inflated baseball.
Oh, Ram brings up
unreal.
Yeah, he's being Sonny Gray. Ram brings up, I wonder if they'll get anything out of Jordan Walker. This actually could be a guy that benefits from a change of scenery. I wonder if he's the type of guy they could flip to bring in, a depth starter or something like that. And he just may need a change of scenery at this point.
Is there a team that would gamble on the tools of a Jordan Walker, especially with him being 23 still? I could see that.
I hope so.
The Rays.
I like the Cardinals' arms, man. I feel like they have good versatility. Like Steven brings up in the comments a great point about McGreevy and Roby, both being guys who could impact the team this year. I mean, McGreevy, we've seen him do it in spot starts last year, and this year he was really good in his one stretch so far. And I just think this is a team with they have a pretty decent bullpen. They have guys like Helsley and Leahy and Matz, who was stretched out as a starter earlier and gives you another option who can eat some innings if need be. I just think this is a team that they're not a superstar laden team by any means, besides a couple of the top guys. And even those guys, are we considering Sonny Gray, Brendan Donovan superstars? Probably not, but they're very good players. But there's a lot of them. And I feel like it's a team that's pretty well, they've got a lot of depth. And if they can add one or two more guys, they can be pretty competitive in a bit of an NL that seems like it's a little bit in flux besides the Dodgers in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Ty, I know you had a couple topics in the Discord that you had mentioned that you wanted to bring up. Anything in particular you want to pivot to?
I want to talk about Hunter Goodman because this guy rakes. He's hitting the ball so well right now. I was looking at some of his breaking ball numbers, and he's got his batting average up over 100 points from last year on breaking balls. And I like that. I'm not super knowledgeable on all these new swing path things yet. I'm still trying to figure out how to read any of those charts because, man, there's so much information on those. But he's hitting the ball in the air 60% of the time. He had a double and a triple today. I like that. Yeah, okay, it was against the Marlins, but still, those are hits, So he's playing really, really well. But mostly what I wanted to touch on was the Diamondbacks trade deadline and what they're going to do with all these injuries. And I don't know if Brandon Pfa's going to come out with an injury after the next couple of days go by with how he's been playing. But yeah, we're getting into that kind of beginning of the summer thing. And
hot homers though.
Hey, I'm a baseball fan and I'm really a pitcher fan, but I love to see a yes hitter. Those are fun, especially when it's not against the team you cheer for.
Hunter Goodman, who you mentioned a minute ago, I actually have been a big fan of his going back to the minor leagues. His exit velocity numbers in the minor leagues were elite. And so when he came up, obviously he debuted in 2023, but last year his performance really made me frustrated because this was a guy that I thought could be really somebody. And this year's his breakout, his coming out party at the big league level. So I'm glad that you brought him up. I mean, he's hitting 281, 328 on base, 491 slug, WRC plus of 114. So, I mean, he's for a catcher. I mean, this is a good bat. So I'm glad that he was the guy you brought up.
Hard hit rate's 51%. The guy just barrels it.
Ty is right. He is absolutely mashing breaking balls. I mean, he's hitting them at a 370 clip. Like he said, up 100 points. I don't think it's 130 points.
Yeah,
it's pretty ridiculous. He's slugging over 550 against breaking balls, and that's the thing is, it's a guy who's a lot of swing and miss. I mean, he's got only a 7th percentile whiff rate, which isn't ideal. until you see that he's hitting all these breaking balls, and it's like, okay, well, maybe teams are going to start to throw him more fastballs in these later count opportunities. But when you see guys with a lot of swing and miss, you often get concerned about breaking balls, and seeing him hit breaking balls that well is really encouraging for the longevity of this skill set. The question is, he's in Colorado. What do they have going for them? I don't know what. I find it fascinating. I looked at his splits real quickly. He's actually hitting better on the road than he is at home by like a relatively significant chunk, which is pretty impressive. And his power numbers are better on the road. He's got 8 homers on the road, only 2 at home. So,
I mean, if you hit the ball that hard, it doesn't matter where you are.
That's for sure, especially when he's hitting that well on the road too. Like, would they move him? Because they don't have a lot going for them, but he has a 346. Yeah, 346 BABIP is pretty high. I mean, the numbers will probably come back to earth a bit.
And like I have it written down somewhere. He went like 7 for 13 this series. So like not every series is going to be a 500 batting average, and not every series is going to have 3 homers and a triple and a double in it. Like I don't.
I think he was in your studs of the week, wasn't he?
He was. I think he was in my honorable mentions. Let me go pull it up.
Okay.
I write so much of these things that sometimes I forget who actually gets in there.
If you guys are wondering what I'm talking about with the studs of the week in the Best Damn Sports Substack that we have, link is in our profile here on the YouTube page. But every week Ty does a write up on the studs of the week in MLB. So appreciate anybody who wants to join the Substack. Usually I make those MLB studs of the week free. So that way we can, you can check those out and not necessarily be a paying subscriber, because there is a free option to subscribe to our Substack. So
I will say the stud of the week for catcher was Cal Raleigh, and there was nobody else honorably mentioned. And I don't think that's the wrong answer. I don't think
he was crushing
what he did. He led the league in homers, not just catchers, by 2. Like he had 6 bombs last week. He had 5 hits and had homers in all of them in a series.
He's leading the AL by 3 homers over Aaron freaking Judge right now. So
I think he might still just lead the league. I haven't been on my computer watching games, but I know he hit number 24 today because I've got a guy who's a huge Mariners fan, and I get 15 to 20 gifts every day of him going yard.
Well, I mean, the Mariners are they're back in second place now. When I looked a couple days ago, they were in first place in the West. So
Houston, and I wrote about that a lot this week too.
Yeah.
Houston had a really good week, and they took 3 or 4 from Seattle. Like I think maybe now around 3 series ago, took 3 or 4 and climbed back into a tie. So Houston is not going anywhere. That's still probably the team to beat, I think, in that division. I think the Mariners are hitting a little bit over their heads right now.
The Rangers are the worst.
I haven't seen a team hit so poorly in so long.
Can we talk about the Rangers just briefly? As
Go
a
ahead,
Rangers fan, indulge me, because we lost 4-3 tonight. Robert Garcia gets walked off after we're up 3-1 entering the 9th inning. Robert Garcia implodes. The Rangers they have 2 reliable relievers in Hobie Milner and Chris Martin. I don't trust anybody else on this team when it comes to arms.
Well, you don't like Luke Jackson closing games out?
All year. It's like he got hit hard and then he's out there again and again. And so now we go away from him. I mean, Chris Martin's healthy now. I'd rather see him. I want to see him. Can we get one of these arms that other teams are letting go or trading away for free? Like maybe we can fix Alexis Diaz. Go get somebody. Try something. I don't know, because our starting pitching is ungodly good besides Kumar Rocker. But like it's been unbelievable. We've even gotten significant contributions from Patrick Corbin. But what you're getting out of Eovaldi before he went on IR, which isn't expected to be a super long IR stint. Obviously, DeGrom. Leiter's been phenomenal recently. He's had a couple of rough starts. For the most part, he's been amazing.
Good start today.
He was good. He got out of a couple like jams too. He's showing some maturity that generally comes with experience. It was very encouraging as a Rangers fan and a Leiter fantasy owner to see him work through a couple of the spots he did today and minimize damage and come out of it with a good outing. And then Mally's been one of the most surprising pitchers in baseball. You have some of the very best pitching, maybe the best pitching in baseball so far this year, at least arguably, and you can't hit. Marcus Semien was the worst player in baseball until the past week. He's finally, he's been phenomenal. And then, oh my goodness, it is so frustrating because Jake Berger was signed to be this big offseason addition. He's been mid, although he's done a couple of good things recently. Adolis Garcia does not hit baseballs anymore.
He's been a healthy scratch for more games in the last couple of weeks than he has played.
They gave him 4 or 5 games off in a row as a mental reset. I think he's just going to become a part-time player now. He's just not good. No. I mean, Evan Carter's back is completely ruined, so apparently he's not an impact prospect. All of a sudden, Wyatt Langford forgot how to hit, and he's been the only guy who can hit. Corey Seager can't stay on the field. You have some of the best starting pitching in baseball, and you just have nothing else, and it's so frustrating. I'd rather 95-year-old Chris Martin. I want him to be our closer. We are down bad.
Rangers were my pick preseason to win the division, so yes.
Me too. I'm biased, but I don't know.
Yeah, Adelise Garcia is batting 7th today or yesterday.
Is he done? Like,
he can't hit a high fastball, and he strikes out too much, and he just doesn't hit the ball hard anymore when he does hit it. It's he looks clueless. He just looks like I don't know where the guy from 2023 went. I just don't get it. He's not old. He's still physically very capable. He's the best defensively he's ever been, honestly. I don't know. He just isn't good anymore.
I wonder what I'm trying. My computer's really slow right now, but from the quick look I just had at some of your player stats, I think you might have 2 guys who have OBP like above 300 right now, like maybe 3 or 4.
That's encouraging.
But it's like, hey, Marcus Semien had a great game today.
He's had an awesome week. He's hit like 4 bombs. He hit 2 today. He had 3 hits out of 3. He went 3 for 4 today. Berger hit another bomb. He was 2 for 4. Those guys got a hit, but like Seager's 0 for 3, Langford's 0 for 3, Young is 0 for 3.
Seager's
we
really
don't
bad.
have a. It's just Seager's been rough. When he's he's not on the field most of the time anyway. I look at this team and I'm like, I don't even know, because you look at it and you think it's going to be a pretty good team, even without quality.
It does look like a good team.
The Atlanta Braves.
Exactly. Even without a quality bullpen, everything else looks to the point where this should be a team that is 6 games over 500 right now. And instead they're 5 games under, and they're 5 games back in the division. And yeah, we're only 60 games in, but there comes a point at which it's like 2 years in a row of this. Last year we weren't good. I mean, we won the World Series in 2023. So it was like, okay, last year was rough, but that's okay. We can live with it. We'll move on. Guys are going to be healthier this year. You got DeGrom all year. You got Malley back. You got impact, hopefully. And it's just, I don't know. You bring in Berger, and you're hoping you're going to get the Berger from the second half of last year in Miami, where he just absolutely mashed in a relatively hitter-friendly park for him. And I don't know. It just hasn't come together. And it becomes a point like, I can't wait for Walcott. I cannot wait for Walcott, Steven. It's like, I was getting to the point with Semien struggles where I was like, can we just start playing him at second base, please? And Rosario's great too, but he's not going to be healthy at all until
I still believe in Abby Bombs.
I like Abby Bombs, but
I'm still a believer.
I don't know if he's a guy who's going to be an impact MLBer. I'm not sure.
He's going to be a boomer bust guy, I think. Which those guys are fun sometimes, but man, they frustrate you at others. Everybody that's watching tonight, make sure you hit the like button under the video. It helps us out with the algorithms and all that kind of stuff. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I want to give everybody a chance to kind of go around and, yeah, exactly. Ram says that Abby Bombs is a Pars List darling. Yeah, exactly. If you guys don't know Pars List, he was the best baseball formula for prospects I ever saw. I wish he was still contributing in the prospect community, but alas, I did meet a lot of friends, Ram and JT. Those guys are all guys that were Pars List guys. So getting off topic, but anyway, I want to go around and give everybody a chance to make their final comment of the night, final thought of the night, something they want to hit on before we get off the show tonight. Peter, we'll start it with you. Kind of what's your thoughts on what's going on in the baseball world, or anything that we've talked about, or something else that you want to hit on as your final take of the night?
I mean, I've mentioned it a few times on the Discord we're a part of, but I generally believe it, and I know I'm probably just being a homer, but I think we need to start really respecting David Peterson as a top level pitcher.
Yes.
Again, I know he doesn't have the most amazing, stuff. He's not going to blow you away with an amazing fastball, but he gets guys out. 2 weeks ago they played the Dodgers. He struck out Ohtani 3 times. Today they played the Dodgers again. Mets were up by 1 at this point, and he struck him out to end the 7th. And obviously the Mets lost, but they were winning when he was there. So I think it's about time we start respecting David Peterson.
Yes, respect David Peterson and bench Brett Beatty. I'm blaming Brett Beatty for that play at home. Cost me a win for Peterson and cost me a save opportunity for Edwin Diaz. I am annoyed.
You're right, but you're right because Brett Beatty pushed Reed Garrett and Alvarez into each other, and Brett Beatty was actually the one that walked the leadoff hitter, not Reed Garrett. You're right. It's definitely
I'm annoyed at Reed Garrett too.
Yeah, me too.
Me too. I have him on my fantasy team. Oh.
Yeah, I want to echo Peterson's skills this year. I've got him as like a back end of my rotation in quite a few leagues, and I've been pleasantly surprised. Beginning of the year, I was doing a lot of matchup sitting, and now I'm just starting him. I'm not even looking at matchups. I'm just putting him in the lineup. And I do want to touch on Griffin Canning today, shutting out the Dodgers over 6-2. The Mets have an outstanding rotation. And it's coming from some unlikely places, a little bit in the back end, but I was super impressed by that. And then I also, my last comment, everybody here knows me, I'm a PCA stan. He had another jack today. PCA's for the MVP. If I had to vote, that's what I'm voting. And he's easily my favorite player right now. This guy is so exciting. He's such a psychopath. His post-game interviews are hilarious. He looks like he's blacked out, and he's just, I love baseball. He doesn't even know what's going on around him. They'll be like, you broke 12 records today. And he's like, okay, I won. Like, I love that in a player. Just dirty, grimy, wants to win baseball games. Doesn't care if he goes 0-4 with 4 Ks or he hits 3 bombs. He's my favorite player. Go Cubs.
Zach Scott will never see the pearly gates, let me tell you. That's son of a bitch.
I am a huge PCA fan as well. I love that guy. I don't know if anybody who watches baseball doesn't love that guy. He might be the most universally popular player in baseball, from what I can tell.
Fantasy people like, oh, it's only May. It's only June. How fantasy related. It only be this month before you're
fantasy just like, related. Yes, he's not going to be this good for the rest of his career. It's just unsustainable at this level.
3/4 of this good.
Okay, I agree. He's great. I'm not sure he's this great, but I think he is 2/3 this great offensively, probably, and that's still an extremely valuable player, especially with him being maybe the best defensive center fielder in baseball, at least one of the best defensive players in baseball, period. Love the guy.
Yeah. If Kevin Kiermaier hit even a shade of this, he's the best player in the league.
Yep, it's fair. I mean, he's a monster. He's incredible. He's been one of the best. I'm with it for MVP votes at this point in the year. I am fully with it.
And I will say that to be the guy out of the Cubs outfield that is like turning heads. Obviously, all 3 of them are playing out of their minds. Kyle Tucker's had one of the most well-rounded years I've seen from somebody this year. Cubs team is scary. And
Matt Shaw's playing great too. Now they have a third baseman. Fills a huge gap in that team.
That team's going to be fun to watch.
They are very fun to watch. But one last thing I will say about the Mets pitching, I'm with, to echo what y'all said. You have obviously like kind of unlikely sources. You have Kodai Senga, who you expect to be a stud, and he has been a stud, been one of the best pitchers in baseball. You have Clay Holmes. He's been surprisingly very, very good. Definitely a lot more than I think you probably expected out of him in this starting role. David Peterson, Mr. Consistent, has been even more consistent this year and even better than he was last year, where he was also really, really good and really consistent. Tyler McGill, that's been probably definitely an unlikely contributor. The amount he's striking people out is really, really nice. He's been great. Griffin Canning's been awesome. And then you still have, I mean, obviously, I don't think we expected much out of Griffin Canning after last year with the last few years with the Angels, really. All of a sudden, he's a sub-3 ERA pitcher. And they have Frankie Montas coming back healthy. The Paul Blackburn started a game and was really good. And who knows, maybe he's a contributor. He's like the 7th starter. Like this team they could get 2 injuries and still have guys who are pretty competent starters to plug into those spots. They are just blessed for pitching right now with the way that a lot of these guys have performed a lot better than expected this year.
Yeah.
Sean Manaea too. I literally completely forgot him. I am like, they have 8 pitchers. He's probably their 2nd or 3rd best pitcher. Like I'd say he's their best. I think he's their best pitcher. I mean, yeah, that was my point. That's what I was going to say. The Mets. I mean, I haven't checked their ERA in a little bit. I know that's not the most perfect stat, but they were number 1 in team ERA, and their best pitcher hasn't even pitched yet. Yeah, they're spectacular.
Well, Thank you guys for joining me on the show tonight. It's been a fun night. It's funny because like in the top left corner on my screen, it shows the time that we've been on. I'm like, gosh, we've been on here for 90 minutes. I wouldn't have even known if I didn't look at that clock. So you guys have made this fun. I really appreciate you guys joining tonight. It's been a good time. So same for the audience, commenting in the chat and whatnot. It makes it a lot more fun when I see all the chat comments coming through. And interacting with the viewers. That is something that is probably my favorite part of this, is when we're able to interact. So thank you guys for watching and being active. Make sure, like I said, if you're just stumbling onto the show for the first time, please hit that subscribe button, like the episode, and leave us a little comment in the comment section below the video, giving us some ideas of what you like, what you don't like, and what you'd like to see more of on the show. Would love to hear some feedback from some of you guys that are watching. But thank you again, Braves. You got to get it together, man, because you're ruining my summer.
Rangers too, please.
That's all I got, guys. Have a good night.